Welcome to Episode 3 of Keke's Guide to Training Your Human. My name is Ken Van Camp. I write and narrate this podcast under the creative direction of Keke. In each episode, Keke presents a dog's perspective on life and growing up in the human world. In this episode, we present Lessons 9 through 11 of Keke's Guide to Training Your Human, Dragontooth, Queen of the Un-mowed Jungle. So I hope you enjoy this episode as we start with Lesson 9, Part 1 of Dragontooth, Queen of the Un-mowed Jungle. An intruder is discovered. In every puppy's life there comes a day when she must face her fears and spread her paws, a day when a puppy becomes a dog. The day began simply enough for me, chewing on a table leg, jumping on furniture, and playing soccer with the puppy behind the mirror. That is, until I noticed two things. The first was a series of squeaks, and the second was the awareness that the house had no other sounds. The humans had left me alone. I put my nose in the air to smell for my humans. Of course, their scent was everywhere, but the ceiling fan usually blew their fresher scent down when they were near. Instead of my humans, I smelled a rat, and not the nice kind like Remy and Ratatouille, something evil and revolting. My ears perked up when I heard the squeak again. I looked up and saw a mouse perched on a jar on the table by the couch. I knew that jar. It held puppy cookies, and the lid was off. The mouse had two claws in the jar and nearly had a treat in its dirty grasp. I looked at the mouse, and the mouse looked at me. He grinned. How could this be? A mouse putting its filthy paws on my silky delights? The audacity of such a rodent was impossible to conceive, and yet there he was. Someone needed to teach this mouse a lesson in manners, but who? It was me or nobody. I surveyed my options. There were stairs in front of the couch, which my humans had placed for me to climb from floor to couch and back. Unfortunately, these were the scary stairs. The humans had tried to show me how to use them, but I had yet to climb more than one of the 4 steps. Narrow and tall, they were too much for a little puppy to master. I didn't even want to think about the view from the top. "Hey, rodent," I barked. "Get away from those cookies. They're mine."
"Who's gonna make me?"
squealed the mouse. "I am," I growled. And with that, the mouse uttered a series of short squeaks that could only be a laugh, or maybe a cackle. He sounded like the Wicked Witch. When he finally stopped, he said,
"You can't even get to the couch without a human picking you up."
And you know what? He was right. If I was going to get that little rodent, I'd need help. But who? No one was in the house except a scared puppy and a psychopathic mouse. And that's when I remembered the nickname my female human, a.k.a. Mom, had given me recently when I bit too hard on her fingers.
"Ouch,"
she said.
"You have the teeth of a dragon. I'm going to call you Dragontooth."
After a pause, she proclaimed,
"Dragontooth, Queen of the Un-mowed Jungle."
Lesson 10, Part 2 of Dragontooth, Queen of the Un-mowed Jungle. Keke finds her inner superhero. Standing at the foot of the staircase, I knew this was a job for a superhero. Sitting up straight and squaring my shoulders, I said aloud, "This is a job for Dragontooth, Queen of the Un-mowed Jungle." I looked down and saw I was wearing a pink shirt with a gold D emblazoned on the front. A burst of energy shot through me as I put my front paws on the first step, then pushed off with my back ones. As my rear feet hit the first step, my front paws reached for the next. I was doing it. I was climbing the stairs to the couch without help. As all 4 paws hit the couch, I turned to my furry nemesis, a mouse whose front claws now held one of my cookies. Seeing me so close, he let out the loudest squeal I had ever heard, dropped the treat, and jumped down. I was nearly upon him when he reached the couch, but I overshot and sent the jar of cookies crashing to the floor. The mouse scurried down the side of the couch, leaving me to scamper back to the top of the stairs. Peering over the top, I realized how far up I was. I was terrified. The mouse looked at me from the floor and squealed again with laughter.
Little Dragontooth isn't so brave when she has to come back down the stairs.
Baring my superhero fangs, I released a mighty woof and put 2 paws on the first step. Fearless, I lowered my back feet, then advanced my front ones. Faster than a toy poodle chasing its tail, I descended the stairs and bounded toward the mouse. Boy, was he surprised. Yelling, "Catty-cornered!" I pounced and grabbed him by the tail. Lesson 11. Conclusion of Dragontooth, Queen of the Un-mowed Jungle. Keke captures the evil mouse.
Let me go!
The mouse wailed. Looking at my razor-sharp dragon teeth, he cried,
Please don't eat me!
After securing the tail with my paw, I laughed, watching the squirmin' vermin. And why shouldn't I? The mouse squealed and pulled, trying to loosen my iron grip.
I'll be your best friend!
I pointed out that friends don't steal from friends, and he apologized, adding,
I haven't eaten in 2 days. I won't do it again, I promise.
What's your name?
Mousy tongue.
Well, that's a mouthful.
No!
I laughed. Jumpy little guy, aren't you? I just meant it's a long name.
Well, you'd be jumpy too if you were surrounded by giants.
I nodded, thinking about what it was like to live with humans that towered over me and often came close to flattening me like a wad of soft poop. I think I know what it's like to be little, even if you are smaller than me. We agreed to be friends, and I would call him Mousy, and he would call me Keke. And that's the story of how I became a big dog. Well, not exactly a big dog. I'm still a puppy most of the time, but when I need to, I become Dragontooth, Queen of the Un-mowed Jungle, and I find the courage to protect my house and humans. Thank you for listening to this podcast. But don't hang up yet. I have a few important announcements to make about Keke's Guide. We are planning an online launch party for this podcast, and you'll want to tune in every week to future episodes for further details. There will be free prizes and games. I also want to let you know that the publication schedule for Keke's Guide has been firmed up, and I'm now posting each new episode on Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. in the U.S. Eastern Time Zone. And finally, our Facebook page is easier than ever to reach. It's now just facebook.com/Keke's Guide. It doesn't matter whether you type it in upper or lower case, just no spaces and no apostrophe. So facebook.com/KEKESGUIDE. I'm Ken Van Camp, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Keke's Guide to Training Your Human. If so, please rate it and leave feedback. You can also leave feedback on that Facebook page. All episodes are copyright by Ken Van Camp, and remember to join us for the next episode of Keke's Guide to Training Your Human. Because dogs are people too, you know.